Four groups of parents. We have biological parents, surrogate parents, adoptive foster parents, legal guardians, step parents. And to this group, I would like to add other groups of people who function in the role of parenting, like such as mentors, educators, religious leaders, and all that. So again, no matter what circumstances make you a parent, our duties and responsibilities remain the same. And what are these duties again? To love, to nurture, to care for, to provide, to protect, to educate, to guard and to guide, and to help them find their way back to the Creator, to make heaven. Because in my opinion, making heaven is the ultimate success story of every human being. We have different categories of parents. We have good parents, we have bad parents, we have loving parents, we have dutiful parents, we have negligent parents, we have absentee parents, we have careless parents, we have uninformed parents, we have demanding, overly demanding parents, and we even have abusive parents. The list goes on. So you have to intentionally judge yourself to know what kind of parent you are and what kind of parent you wish to be. Just do the math. And then intentionally begin to take definite steps towards becoming the parent you desire to be and the parent God expects you to be. You have to ask Him prayerfully what His will and purpose is for each child. Then tell Him yours. And then negotiate with God and come to a compromise with which you can now go to the drawing board and set up goals, set up criteria, set your boundaries, choose the parenting styles you want to use, choose the schools, choose the career path you think is best suited for the intellect, the disposition, the gifts, and the talents you have noticed in your child, and intentionally begin to work on this project, because intentionality in parenting is actually a project. It's take for example, you go to the supermarket, you load your cart with different kinds of stuff and you come home, you check them out and you come home and you decide, oh, I want to make some bread pudding, and you check and oh, I have this, oh, I forgot to get raisins. And then, okay, maybe I'll make some beef stew. Oh, I've got this, I got this, I got it. Oh, of course I didn't get beef. Red meat is not healthy. And then, oh, okay, then what can I do? Maybe I just settled and make some mushroom soup or something, or vegetable soup. But you can't stumble around in parenting. When you go to the shop, you have decided what you want to buy, you have decided what you want to have for dinner, and you go intentionally and purposefully to the supermarket, pick the relevant items, ignore what isn't relevant to your mission. You check them out, you come home, and you go straight ahead to prepare what you have in mind. And guess what? You will get the results you desire. And it takes intentionality in parenting to bring about the desired results. Now, what is intentionality actually? To be intentional in something is simply to have a pre-planned, preconceived notion about that thing, to premeditate a course of action and then go about carrying it out. The difference between murder and manslaughter comes to mind. And the difference is intention, intent. One is premeditated and pre-planned, the other isn't. And we know the repercussions of both are different, vastly different. And so the repercussions of stumbling around in parenting versus intentionally working towards specific goals are vastly different. And I tell you, I will define intentionality in parenting with two words: time and effort. It will cost you time, it will cost you effort. It will cost you time, it will cost you effort. So you have to be deliberate in this task. And I tell you sadly that in my 25, almost 30 years of relating with parents in this country and helping raise their kids, 90% have shown absolutely no signs of intentionality whatsoever, nor any willingness to learn. This is very sad. And I pray in the years to come, there will be a drastic change as parents grow in their awareness of the need in the 21st century to be intentional in your parenting. A lot of groups intentionally indoctrinate their children from a very young and tender age. The Muslims, for example, they indoctrinate their children in the faith and the tenets of their faith from a very tender age. Unfortunately, the Christians don't intentionally do the same. We just tumble around, and when kids don't turn out the way we want them to, we wonder why. It will cost time and effort. Aristotle, an ancient philosopher, Greek philosopher, taught us that children are likened to blank slates. Tabula rasa, he called them. They are born without any preconceived notions, any ideas whatsoever, just an empty blank slate. And it takes you and I, society, parents, siblings, different activities and different personalities and different events to begin to write whatever they will on these blank slates. And unfortunately, for those who stumble around in parenting, the world is more anxious and more eager to write on these tablets of yours than you are. And so this calls for caution. It's a wake-up call that the world is intentionally writing on your tabula rasas while you are busy looking for, career success and pursuing, the American dream and things like that. There's actually no way around it. It will cost us time and effort to be present in the lives of our children all the time. We must monitor what is being written on these tablets of theirs. We must be present. A lot of us will hear them talk, but we don't really listen because we are obviously too busy. Yes, we have to be very busy, but we also must carve out time to pay attention, to listen to them, to be quick to detect subliminal messages that may come across when they talk to you, by their reactions, when their attitudes begin to change, or dressing patterns begin to change, or behavioral patterns begin to change. We must be very quick to detect such things. So we have to be present with them, not just present physically, obviously, but emotionally, psychologically present in the lives of our kids. Because we will all agree that it's much easier to nip something in the bud than to try and fell a full-grown tree. That will cost time, effort, maybe money, and a lot of pain. So to avoid this, we nip things in the bud when we see anything that is being written on the tabula rasa that is attempting to spring up, we nip it immediately. We put the truth in there, we put the right perspective in there, we bring in balance to their thinking, and we erase it from the tablet immediately. That is what intentionality in parenting will require, because you have no idea when a seed will be sown. You have no idea when an encounter will be made. You have no idea when a notion will be, just sown into their subconscious. So there is no sabbatical about this. There's no taking it easy. There's no giving it time. We have to be on the tip of our toes constantly, because the longer this bud begins to spring forth, the more strength it acquires, and the more difficult it will be to root out or pluck out. We have the roles of detectives in the lives of our children. You know that intuition that we have when it comes to our spouse. If his dressing changes, if he sneezes once too often, if he goes out late, if he smiles too much, we can detect anything a mile off. We need that giftings, the Sherlock Holmes giftings when it comes to our children as well. We have to be present to study their idiosyncrasies, their temperaments, their habits, their behavioral patterns, to know when there is a shift. Because, as they say, there is no smoke without fire. Anything that happens in the life of our kids always starts with a tiny little seed and grows up into manifestation in different ways. So we have to study and study and study each child. Because as we all know, each child is unique in his or herself. They are all bundles of pluses and minuses. So how are you going to detect any wrong seed or any wrong writing or inscription on these tabula rasas? Such things like insecurities, bullying tendencies, racism, religious fanaticism, gender confusion, male egoistic tendencies, temper, selfishness, eating disorders, lying, cheating, tendencies to steal, and so on and so forth. All these always start as a tiny little seed, most of the time from an event, from an occurrence. There's always a beginning point, a seed time. So anytime you detect this, there was a seed time. So you have to go back to the root cause. When you detect anything like that, don't try and just treat it on the surface. You need to delve in deeper, ask questions, do your studying, and know when that seed was planted, because until you get to that seed and that root and that initial inscription, you may not be able to get rid of whatever it is you don't like in your child. So that will take time and effort and our Sherlock Holmes skills. Take anger, for example. Anger is an issue that plagues a lot of adults today. Anger issues always run deep down in the childhood of the man or the woman. And they find full-blown expression when they become bosses, when they become in charge. You find out that maybe you have an overly demanding boss, or very temperamental boss, or very, very easily angered boss, or very egoistic boss, whatever. They were seeds sown in the subconscious of the little child. Because another Greek philosopher, William Wordsworth, taught us that the boy is the father of the man, just as the girl is the mother of the woman. So whatever you see a man exhibiting in his character, whatever character traits you see a woman exhibiting, the roots are deep down in their childhood. These issues went undetected and therefore unresolved and uncorrected. And they have blossomed to affect the man in his grown-up state or the woman in her grown-up state. Some of these character traits I just mentioned are so deep-rooted that we know that they have spiritual implications. I'll explain this to you. Anything in our body or mind or psyche that can be changed in the twinkling of an eye is not natural. Because the natural tendency of the human body is to heal and to change gradually. So anything that can be changed instantaneously means it was not a natural thing in the first place, because only spirits are responsible for all form of misbehavior, addictions, wrong thinking, anger, bitterness, selfishness. All these vices have spirits behind them. There's no running away from the spiritual, because every human being is a spirit being. So to ignore the spiritual is to ignore the main part of who you are, not just 1/3. Yes, it's 1/3, but it's the main one of the 1/3 is a major part. We are spirit, we possess souls, that's our mind, will, and emotions, and we live in a body. That is why we can continue to live outside the body. When we shed this body, we continue to live in the hereafter. I like to think it like a can of Coke or Pepsi or something, that you open it up, you pour out the contents that is relevant to you, and you discard the can. And you don't give it another thought. When the spirit and the soul leave the body, we discard the body and bury it, and we don't give it another thought. We never go back to dig up the body and find out how the body is doing and give it some makeup and make sure that it's wearing the latest fashions and designer clothes. No. We don't even give a flying fig about it anymore. We discard the can. Unfortunately, most of us spend most of our time and resources taking care of the can and neglecting the spiritual. So we can't run away from the spiritual. And if it has been known that maybe by exorcism or by prayers or by a miracle, an addiction is broken, we have millions of stories like that overnight, then we know that that spirit was commanded to live by a stronger and a higher power, which is the power of God. So the demon spirits are dark spirits that bring no good, but they are so easily introduced into the mind, will, and emotions. That's another indication to tell you that it's not natural. Because, take a skill, for example. Anything in life you want to learn, you want to acquire a skill, it takes time and effort. But an addiction takes maybe just 5 minutes. Just one glance, just one sip, just a little exposure, one sniff, and that body receives the spirit behind that and is in bondage for decades. It all started from just one sniff, just one taste, just one drag. that shows you it is not natural. So we cannot avoid the spiritual. So if any child shows any of these tendencies and they are really over the top, you need to go to a counselor, you need to go to your religious leaders, you need to seek a higher power to help get rid of the spirit behind these behavioral patterns, detrimental behavioral patterns, and these damaging traits. I can say with confidence that 95% of us have no idea how our children are going to turn out. We can only do our part and do our best. We have no idea their destiny. We have no idea, where they're going to end up and who God is going to make out of them. We may have a clue, but that might just be as far as it goes. So we are raising future heads of states, future CEOs, decision makers, community leaders, inventors, trainers, teachers, professionals in every human endeavor. And these future leaders are going to lead with the traits and the virtues and the values that you inculcate into them as tabula rasas when they were just little cherubs in your arms. You had the opportunity to form, to shape, to indoctrinate. You had the opportunity to give them the opinions you want them to have before they form opinions of their own. You had the opportunity to teach them how to behave before the world teaches them what it thinks it should be, how it thinks they should behave. You had the opportunity to tell them good from bad, right from wrong. You had the opportunity to make great leaders out of them who love people and can have a mind for service and who will not be stealing and misappropriating public funds, who will be watchful and be their brother's keeper and have the well-being and the good of the community at heart. Because every country that has resources, the resources belong to the people. We all know that. And it is sin, it is wicked, and it is wrong for a handful at the top to appropriate these resources to themselves alone, to the detriment of the lower cadre of society. We see it in every country. And this is wrong because nobody brought oil into the world and nobody's going to take oil out of the world. Nobody brought bitcoins or gold into the world and nobody is going to take it out because nobody owns it. It belongs to God and it belongs to the land and the people thereof. If you raise up good leaders who have good values, who is to tell how wonderful our society will be tomorrow? The ball, ladies and gentlemen, is in your court. An example comes to mind, talking about the boy being the father of the man. We all witnessed the change in administration, the change in values, the change in direction in the United States government. Joe Biden led the country down a certain path and steered the ship down a certain path. And in comes Trump, who now steers the ship down a totally different path, almost opposite. And why this difference? Because of their value system, because of what was written on the tabula rasas when they were young. Trump actually says he was exposed to Christian values when he was young, and his father took him to religious meetings. So we're not judging the entire character of any man or any woman, but we are just trying to prove that the kind of human being you raise up could have the faith of the world's most powerful nation in his or her hands and steer that nation down a completely different path. Decisions made, World War III or no World War III, these decisions are made based on the character traits, the idiosyncrasies, the belief patterns and belief systems of world leaders. This, I hope we understand the importance of intentionality in parenting. Billy Graham had parenting, and so did Adolf Hitler. And the stories go on. And the same human being, the same makeup, the same skeletal system, flesh and bones, and one person can turn out this way, and another person can turn out that way, all because of what was written on that tabula rasa. Because the Bible assures us that when we train a child in the way that he should go, when he grows up, he will not depart from it. He may veer here and there, storms may come and all that, but the basic foundation remains the same. And other religious bodies know that. That's why they start very early. Same goes for acquiring a skill. People know that the foundation matters, and the sooner you begin, the better. And a ballerina starts from the age of 2 or 3, so that the toes and the bones in the toes can form in a certain way. And at the age of 30, a ballerina can still stand on the tippy of her toes. A pianist, an organist, musicians, most of them start very early at a very tender age because they know those are the formative years. But unfortunately, those are the years, at least in this part of the world, that we ignore our children the most. Thinking, hey, what do they know? Oh, they're too young. Oh, yeah, we'll get down to it. Yes, not now, I'll give it time. No, 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 please. I'll ask you, how early do you think a child begins to learn?